Before we get into the show, team, I just want to give my thoughts on Hurricane Harvey and everyone that is suffering from it in the Houston and surrounding Texas areas. It's been going on for too long. Torrential downpours, Mother Nature is being a little unfair right now, but it's good to see some unity in the world for those guys. And, people are traveling as far as where we just moved from, Oregon, with their boats. They're coming over to try help these people out. It's all hands on deck type situation. So if you want to donate, of course, you've got the American Red Cross, that are out there getting donations for everyone, getting clothes. Our good friends, the employees of On It, have put together a fundraiser for Hurricane Harvey, and those are the survivors. They're getting food, they're getting clothing, diapers, dog food, dog crates, pet crates, everything to take over to Houston right now. If you live in Austin, just head on over to On It HQ and just drop off the things, that you can part with. Anything and everything kind of helps. And they've put together a fundraiser as well. And if you want to donate, as little as $1 to this campaign, to this fundraiser, just go to my Instagram page at Honor and Conquer, click the link in the bio, and it'll take you straight to that fundraiser page, that GoFundMe page. So I'm telling you, $1, $5, $10, $15, it doesn't have to be a lot. Just donate and help these guys out living in Houston, okay? All right, on to the show, team. You are listening to the Honor and Conquer podcast with me, Dion Sekone-Fraser. Welcome to the Honor and Conquer podcast, where each week we talk about life experiences, perspectives, integrity, and general banter. So if you're new here, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. All right. We are proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters. Attain Health and Wellbeing are based in Wellington, New Zealand. Start your fitness journey the right way and visit attainhealth.co.nz. That's attainhealth.co.nz and start pushing the pace today. We are also brought to you by Redbeard Barbell in Portland, Oregon. Get all your powerlifting knowledge from one spot. Tim and Jackie Mercer are ready for you to start lifting heavy and living healthy. Visit redbeardbarbell.com and start today. When I said barbell, it sounded like a sheep. redbeardbarbell.com. All right? But yeah, go along. If you want to start powerlifting, Tim and Jackie Mercer know exactly what the fuck they're doing, so they don't fuck around. All right? Hit them up. And last but not least, we're proudly supported by our good friend Jonathan Hager in Wellington, New Zealand. Jono's been with us since day number one of not just the podcast, but Honor and Conquer as a business. He's been with us. He's supported us. He's bought our t-shirts to rep us in New Zealand back home where I'm from. So he's always posting cool stuff about, thought-provoking things about, life and his experience in CrossFit and yoga. So if you want to hit him up, head to our Instagram page at AwahuiBro. That's at AWAHOUBRO. He's a cool dude. And I'm sure you'll think the same way too. Because you and me, it's like that Spice Girls song. When to become one. But not the dirty way. We don't want that shit. Alright? I'm not that dirty. So if you want your personal script or personal shout out on this podcast, visit patreon.com/honor and conquer for more of those details. So this episode was recorded using Ringer. Okay, if you're doing over the phone interviews or podcasts and want clear and crisp audio, then Ringer is for you. Even if your guest is on the other side of the world, Ringer has the power to make it sound like they're right next to you. Visit ringer.com/conquer for a 25% discount when you sign up today. That's Ringer, RINGR, no E, .com/conquer. Okay? And we're proudly brought to you by our friends at On It. They are focused on total human optimization of mind, body, and health. And for a limited time only to the podcast listeners, On It are giving you not only one, but two of my favorite supplements from On It that I love to use every single day. 2 of them for free. The first one is a free 30-count bottle of New Mood, a daily stress and mood support, and it's something that I said to you motherfuckers just before every single day, and all you have to pay for is shipping. The offer is only available in the United States, okay? And also they're giving you a free 28-bottle count of Shroom Tech Sport. I don't fuck around with pre-workouts, those powder shit anymore. I only take Shroom Tech Sport for my pre-workouts. This is literally what I take. All right, are you ready? I take 4 Alpha Brain and 4 Shroom Tech Sports. That's how much I take before I go. So that's 6 capsules. That's how fucking amped I want to be when I work out. And they're giving you those 2 bottles fucking for free, motherfuckers. I wouldn't lie to you. Why would I lie to you about this awesome deal? And it's only available in the United States. So sorry for you suckers that live abroad. I live abroad technically. But for you who do not live in the United States, it sucks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay? But this offer is only available in the United States, and you don't have to pay for shipping. You do have to pay for shipping, sorry. That's the only thing you have to pay for. This type of deal doesn't come around all the time, so take advantage of it. Visit honorandconquer.com/onit. Click on the free one that you want, either the free New Mood, the free Shroom Tech, I don't give a shit, whatever you want, and get optimized today. And last but not least, also, if you do your shopping on Amazon, go to our homepage at honorandconquer.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and click the Amazon banner and do your shopping like you normally would. We receive a kickback on your purchases, okay? On every purchase that you make. On the show today, I have the talented Mr. Shane Farmer. I talked about this in the podcast, but I put out the back signal. I was like, you know what? I'm sure people should have questions for Mr. Farmer. I'm going to put them out there. And you know what? These sick fucks, they were like, ask him why he's so handsome, or ask him what workouts make him so handsome. I'm like, yo, there are more better questions in the fucking world to ask this guy. But you know what? He's a handsome individual. He is. I'm going to give him that. He's a very handsome individual. But there's more to him than just good looks. There's all that knowledge up in his brain about rowing and human movement and just so much shit up in that brain of his. He is the founder of Dark Horse Rowing. We break down a lot of misconceptions about rowing, actually. We talk about how he got into rowing, how he got into CrossFit, the correlation between rowing and CrossFit. And we talk about the damper setting on a rower, because that was the number one question that kind of kept coming up on the DMs on Instagram. What should I have my damper setting at? I know that it made my wife angry, and he has an interesting answer to that. Also, he has a very interesting answer about a certain topic that I was unfamiliar with, how to row and how to push in each stroke. So I'm excited for this podcast. So why the fuck are you listening to me? You have to listen to me because I have to do the ad reads. Okay? So without further ado, I give to you Mr. Shane Farmer. All right, so on the phone with me, I've got apparently the most handsome guy in CrossFit right now, Mr. Shane Farmer from Dark Horse Rowing.
I'll take that crown.
So on a personal level, I've followed Shane for a long time, just rowing workouts in general, and finding your videos on the CrossFit YouTube channel. And my wife is also, she went to SMU in Dallas, Texas, on a scholarship for the rowing team. She taught me how to row. Yeah, when I was living in New Zealand, and CrossFit is actually the thing that how we met. At the time, I didn't know what CrossFit was. So for the listeners, by the way, everyone's heard this story before, but I don't give a fuck. It's my show. I do what I want. Yeah, that's how I found rowing. I was a competitive kickboxer at the time, and she was a CrossFit coach, and she happened to be her specialty was rowing, and I just fell in love with rowing so much, just the technical aspects, and when I was doing a lot of road work, as in running, she told me do rowing because it's still gonna give you that endurance and that I need for my sport. And years later, I found you and your rowing pieces that you did, and I guess the first question that everyone's probably asked you is, how did you even get into the idea of rowing? Because when you hear it, people are like, "Fuck rowing!" Like, rowing. How did you even get into that sport?
Well, yeah, people really hate it. People really hate rowing.
Yeah, man.
But so I didn't find rowing. This is actually pretty common in the States, at least. A lot of people don't find rowing until they get to college. And that was my story. I played every sport under the sun: baseball, football. I ran cross country and track, not cross country. I ran track, and I was an alpine skier. So I raced slalom in high school. And I thought I was going to play baseball in college, and went to the University of San Diego. I transferred there and missed baseball tryouts. And the guy that was living across the hall from me had been recruited to row. He was from Hawaii, and he was an outrigger guy. And he was like, "Oh man, that fucking sucks. Like, you're not going to get to play the entire year." He's like, "What do you think about checking out rowing?" And I kind of figured, well, why not give it a try? I stay in shape until next season. And I jumped on board and just really quickly fell in love with it. And I don't know what it was that hooked me. I think there was an element to the team component. I've always loved team sports. I'm not an individual guy, as evidenced by, I competed in rowing for 4 years, and then I went straight to team competition in CrossFit. And so, I fell in love with it. And then just coincidentally, our strength coach starting my sophomore year at the University of San Diego was Stéphane Rocher, which, if you've been around CrossFit for any amount of time, he was one of the OG flow masters. And he was our collegiate strength training coach and introduced us to CrossFit in 2006. So the entire school, the entire athletic department switched over to using CrossFit for strength training. And many of us fell in love with it. Like so many of us now, our careers are in CrossFit or the fitness world because of Stéphane Rocher. Like, he just changed the trajectory of our entire lives. And so I had loved CrossFit for about 3 years, and I've been doing it as a student athlete. That when I graduated, I didn't have a future in rowing. I was too heavy to be a lightweight and too light to be a heavyweight. So I kind of sat in this like purgatory of what to do. Yeah. And so I went, did what every college student is supposed to do. And I got a job, wearing a suit and a tie, selling life insurance, and hated my life.
Whoa.
And I lasted for about 9 months, and I just quit. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I believed in the company, but man, I just could not do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So I just went to what I knew, and I figured, if I gave up great money selling life insurance, if I gave up good money, I obviously don't care about the money as much as I do having a fulfilled life. And so the two things that I cared about at the time were fitness, i.e. rowing, and men's style. So I love style. I was like, well, it's going to go one of those two directions. And I just happened to, my life has just been a series of fortunate events. I was taking a walk with my dad one day. He was visiting from Minnesota, and I just stumbled. I walked past Invictus like a month after it had opened, and I just poked my head, and I'd never seen a CrossFit gym before. I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was CrossFit in my collegiate weight room. And so I poked my head and was like, "Hey, is this a CrossFit gym? Like, do you guys do the CrossFit?" And
do you do the CrossFit?
Yeah, and because up until that point, we had all just survived on main site watts, and I just did them at the USD weight room. And sure enough, it was Invictus, and I became a member like 3 months after they opened, and the rest is history. After that, I guess the whole where I am now started because I realized how much people hated rowing, and I just saw that as a challenge. Like, how do I get people to change that mindset? And the ironic part of it is that I kind of languished in this, like, I could not solve that problem until I accepted that people hate rowing. And as soon as I accepted that, like, Dark Horse took off. Because I started coaching from a place of, listen, I could give two shits if you love or hate rowing. It doesn't matter to me. And I'm not here to convince you. But what we can all agree on in this sport is that we all believe in solid foundational movement. So if you think that you can get away with shitty movement on the rower, you're wrong, because you show me through your actions that you care about good movement and everything else that you do. The rower is no different. It's just a skill.
Yeah.
Now, it's not more important or less important than anything else. It's a skill, just like everything else. So give it the credence to at least pay attention for a little bit. Let me talk to you about good movement principles, and maybe we can get on the same page there.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to what you just said. It doesn't matter if you love it or hate it. You need to understand the movement of the erg. But what my wife and I always talk about is I think the overall reason why people don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but why people don't like rowing or hate rowing is because they don't necessarily know how to move. And I think once they understand that movement pattern on the erg, I feel like, and they practice it enough, I feel like they'll start to really get it. Does that kind of make sense?
That's 100% correct. And I will tell you, I have gotten far more people to fall in love with rowing by not caring whether or not they fall in love with rowing. It's like this wonderful bait and switch. So for those of you out there that follow me, like, gotcha, like so many people have come to rowing because they don't understand it. And yeah, rowing sucks when you don't get the machine. It's just this black hole of energy, and nobody wants to live in that space. It's like a hamster wheel that you can't get off.
Yeah.
And so it's torturous. And as soon as you give it just 15 minutes a day, twice a week for, I don't know, like 2 months, it completely changes your world and the way that you perceive the machine.
Yeah.
It completely. And then you can choose whether or not you love it or hate it from there. But, once you learn, far fewer people hate the movement.
I feel as well that it builds mental capacity. Because like you said, you're on that machine, you're on a hamster wheel that you can't get off of. You can't get away with 5 strokes and kind of just sit there. You have to really focus on, you're on that machine, you're on there forever. And I mean, I feel like it builds that mental toughness. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like burpees. You can't fail. I don't care how tired you are. You cannot fail a rowing stroke or a burpee.
Yeah.
So if you're in the middle of a workout, don't look at me for help when you're trying to get out of, 100 burpees for time, because there is no fail point. It's kind of like, so Jackie, right?
Yep.
You get off the row, you get into the thrusters, 50 thrusters. And how many people break those thrusters? 90% of them.
Yeah.
But how many people are actually failing an empty barbell thruster? Like maybe 5%. And so that means that you have 85% of the crowd that just mentally cannot push.
Yeah.
And the machine does a great job of taking you to a place where, sorry, but you can't fail. So you are faced with your impending choices.
Yeah. And it is one of those things that you're exactly right. Like you just got to the 50 thrusters and it's an empty barbell. You go, I can just bust through these. But the further and further you get in, your psyche starts to either overcome that barrier or starts to shut down. And I think that's what separates the casual time, the casual CrossFitters, which is nothing wrong with it, obviously, to wanting to go to even just regionals or from regionals to the games or whatever. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I look at it. Like, how mentally strong are you? And now CrossFit as a whole is just huge. Like, it's huge in the world that we live in now, and it's jumped massive leaps and bounds. And I think it's not a part-time thing anymore. These athletes are dedicating full time to that sport, which is which you were doing, right? You went to the games as a team. How many times? Like 3 or 4? Is that correct?
Yeah, 4 times. 2010, 11, 12, and 13.
Dang, man. Back to back.
Yeah.
Like a savage.
Don't call it a comeback. That's a streak.
But with you, so you've walked into Invictus, you joined up as a member. So how did the conversation start with you introducing, hey, is it cool if I could teach a couple things about rowing? How did that conversation spark for you within the Invictus world?
Well, as I mentioned, I was jobless at the time and I had never coached. I'd never done anything like that. I guess I had coached peewee football in high school, but I didn't consider myself a coach. I didn't consider myself a teacher. I just thought, hey, it would be awesome to impart some wisdom to the coaches at Invictus. And so I thought to myself, hey, what if I just created a little seminar, a little weekend thing, and I could just teach the coaches. And so I pitched it to CJ, and he said, you just got to, put our coaches through it the first time for free and let me attend and watch and see how you coach and see if I feel that you're good enough to bring on board. And so I built a little, I think I did 4 1-hour segments at the time.
Wow.
First time through, like that's how long it took me to get somebody the basics. It took me 4 1-hour sessions. And yeah, we can do it in 15 minutes now, but it took me, it's taken me from 2010 until now to refine it to that point.
Wow.
But I basically pitched it to CJ. I just said, hey, what do you think? And he gave me a shot. And I guess that's why I'm still coaching with the Invictus Athletes Camp, is because I started there, and it was kind of my testing ground. That was where I was able to work through coaches, and they are some of the toughest critics. But that's a great place to start as a coach, is to have to demo in front of 5 or 6 highly qualified coaches, because at the time every coach at Invictus was a specialist in something, whether that was fully lifting or nutrition or powerlifting or gymnastics. All of us were not just CrossFit coaches. Each of us had a specialty. And so I guess I passed, and he let me start coaching members. And I did that for about 9 months. And then one of the head coaches got pregnant and was going to go on maternity leave. So he was down a coach and asked if I wanted to start coaching. And he sent me to get my level 1. And funny enough, my strength coach from college, Stefan Rocher, was my level 1 flow master.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I got to go take my level 1 from him, and it just kicked off from there. Man, he changed so many people's lives. Like, do you know Logan Gelbrick, owner of Deuce Gym?
I think I know the name, and I obviously know the gym. Yeah.
Okay. So Logan, another USD athlete, he was a baseball player. While I played, the guys that started Train Heroic, it's a programming platform. They were from USD. We were all athletes at the same time. And so like so many of our careers have changed because of him. Still blows me away what he did for us.
Yeah. I think I've met Logan once through Tate Fletcher and the Caveman Coffee guys. I think I can't quite remember. It was a long time ago now, but it sounds familiar.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So for you, I mean, now you're in Invictus. You're going hard with Rowan, and now how did you going to other gyms? Because you go to other gyms and do seminars. Is that correct? Yeah. How did that word of mouth get out for you? Was it kind of like, oh yeah, this gym does this, would you like to come along? And then it picks up steam, and now you're invited to these gyms. How did that even start for you? Were you surprised by that?
No. I don't give myself much credit for that. I started on my seminars by myself. I met my now wife, and she invited me to Europe, and I said yes, knowing that I couldn't afford it. And so I had to really quickly figure out a way to afford a trip to Europe. So I put together a rowing seminar, and this is 2011. And I sent an email to every CrossFit gym I could find in Europe, which at the time was not very many. Like mainland Europe, I think I found 25 gyms, and that was about it.
Wow.
And I just sent them all an email with this 1-page like pitch sheet, and I basically priced it so that I would make exactly as much as I needed to pay for my flight and living while I was there, and be able to make it home at $0.
Oh my gosh.
And one gym picked me up, and that was CrossFit Le Mans in Switzerland, in Le Mans, Switzerland. It's right outside of Geneva. And that was my first seminar ever. Like my first rowing seminar was out of the United States and in Switzerland.
That's awesome.
If I am such a huge advocate for entrepreneurship, let me tell you, to all of those of you listening, if you have any entrepreneurial spirit, you got to put yourself out on a limb, but anything is possible. My first course was in Switzerland. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, how does that, that is so far outside of my mind at the time was thinking was possible. Anyways, I get back from that trip, and lo and behold, I have a message waiting for me from Concept 2. And they had heard about it, and the head coach for CrossFit rowing at the time was ready to retire. And so they said, we're looking for a new head coach. And it was between me and one other, actually an Olympic rower. She had gone and won gold in the women's 8. And they hired both of us to coach. And she very shortly after got pregnant as well. I seem to have a track record of ending up where I am because the people that I'm working with end up pregnant.
Just end up pregnant, yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm in that place. I have a newborn in the house too.
Hey.
So yeah, I basically ended up in that role coaching the CrossFit rowing course until May of this year.
Wow.
And yeah, so most of it I owe to Concept 2, in all honesty. My relationship goes very deep with Concept 2, and the fact that they gave me a shot early on and really kind of bred me in their system to be one of their master instructors. And through their support and the ability to learn from them and come to Concept 2 headquarters and learn from their coaches and learn from the owners, Peter and Dick Dreiskacker. And I just, that really kicked it all off for me. And so that's where the seminar started coming from. It was all CrossFit rowing until July of 2015 when I started Dark Horse Rowing.
Dang, 2014, is that correct? From Dark Horse
2015.
2015?
July 2015, yeah.
What is the common, so this is I'm completely reading off script now, but what is the number one question that you always get asked, either just in general through, doing seminars or just online? What's the number one question you always get asked about rowing?
The most common question has got to be, tell me about damper setting. Oh. That's got to be the number one question every time.
My wife and I just had a big conversation about this the other day, and it's actually one of the questions that got messaged to me. Actually, we'll fucking ask it right now. I was going to wait till the end. Do it. Yeah, but
let's hit it.
Again, it's my show. I don't give a fuck. It's okay. It was a question that was about oh fuck! So many questions came through. I should have really was more prepared. But it was basically a question about calories for rowing for calories versus distance in a workout. Should your stroke remain the same, and what should you do with the damper setting? My wife was kind of like, Actually, I'll hear what you say, and we'll see if my wife was right.
I'm guessing your wife was pounding her head against a wall.
Yeah, she was. She was very angry. Yes, she was.
Yeah. In rowers, those questions like compounded together create like seething hatred inside. But no, in all honesty, the response is that the foundation of my coaching is that all we are trying to do is improve connection, because the greater your connection, the more you are able to apply force to the machine. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most, whether you're rowing for calories, watts, or split. It doesn't matter, or distance, or time, whatever it is. All that matters is that you know how to connect to the machine. So mechanically, should you change your stroke if the units of measurement change? No, absolutely not. Mechanically, it's exactly the same. Nothing changes. There would be no reason to change your mechanics, right? It's like saying, between, I don't know, would I change my mechanics on a squat just because you change the rep scheme?
Yeah.
No. Or because you change the dynamics of the variables, right? I give you an AMRAP versus a 4-time. Should I change the way that I squat? No. You still squat the same. You just approach it differently. Like you think about it slightly different. And in the case of calories, the monitor does reward you for going hard and punish you for sandbagging it. So yes, there's an inherent element of needing to push the throttle a little bit. And then let's add in the damper setting piece of it. No, there is no damper setting that impacts calories worse or better. And this comes back as well to improving connection. All that matters is that you set a damper setting that allows you to connect best to the machine, and connection is established at the catch. And I cannot say that enough times. And if you don't know what the catch is, it's the front of the stroke. It's right as you are about to load and put yourself into good position to take the stroke. And the catch is so critical because the drive, which comes after it, that drive is when you actually apply force to the machine.
Gotcha.
That's the only phase of the stroke where you can do work. So if you have a poor catch, there's no way that you're going to be able to apply force during the drive. And damper setting simply is establishing your ability to connect. And high damper setting means that you basically have a slow flywheel. And a low damper setting means that you have a fast flywheel. So it doesn't mean that you're strong or weak or, there's nothing more frustrating than seeing a coach that makes their entire gym row at a 10 because they want them to be strong.
Yeah.
Right. There's a time and a place for that. And so I won't say that that's wrong all the time. If you set it at a 10, you better damn well have a reason behind it. If you don't, then what are you doing as a coach? Like, if you don't understand the reason behind what you are asking of your members, then you should not be having them do something. And in the instance of damper setting, we just see too many people, it makes me happy that people ask the question, because it means that people want to know. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And we've dedicated, I want to say I've done like 6 videos about damper setting. So, if you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole, just go to our YouTube channel, because we have like a plethora of damper setting, drag factor videos, and also workouts like explaining how to help you fine tune drag factor so that you find your best connection point, right? Because that's, again, it all comes back to the catch. How can you connect to the machine? You don't row differently mechanically. Maybe mentally you approach a workout differently, but that's the only real change.
Yeah, I've always looked at, whenever I see calories or even distance in a workout, I've never changed anything, because I would always say that because I trust in my technique, that I think I'm doing it right anyway. I'll use the rowing as a reset button, because it gives me time to, like, as I'm going up to the catch, I'm thinking 2, 1, hard pull, 2, 1, like in my head, I'm breathing like 1, 2, 3, boom, 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to use the rower as a restart button before jumping back into the workout. Does that kind of make sense, or is that completely bullshit that I'm thinking that?
No, man, you are totally on the right track, because riddle me this, right? How many workouts in CrossFit win it with the row? Like none of them. Yeah, practically none of them. I mean, it is, unless the workout ends with rowing, or if rowing is the only thing in the workout, you're not going to win it on the row. So yeah, it's a placeholder. Like, it's just there to make you aerobically uncomfortable. Yeah. That's the sole purpose. When you see rowing thrown into a workout, it is just to make you aerobically uncomfortable. So that's why when people choose not to approach it as a skill, it's like, man, that is just a huge gaping hole in your training, because you don't have to care about it. You just, like, why let this continue to be a goat for you when all you got to do is just learn the skill so you can survive? Yeah. That's all that matters. Like, just survive through the row, but survive with knowledge. Know how to approach it so that you can come off the machine feeling good and having kept up with everybody else, as opposed to suffering through the row and coming off just, wide-eyed and trying to grasp for anything that'll help you.
Yeah. So going back, I mean, we're talking about, the technical aspect of, being comfortable with the erg, with all the knowledge that we have out there with proper technique with rowing. Why do you think we still see people pulling so far up to their chin, leaning way back into the seat, and then coming back? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Why do we still see that, and why do people think that that's an efficient stroke or pull?
Well, there are a couple things. One is the way in which people talk about rowing, and I'm gonna call you out on this one. So get ready, okay. Right? Because we talk about the stroke as a pull, as you keep saying, right? Yeah. Like, how do you pull harder? I think about it as 1, 2, 3, pull. The rowing stroke isn't a pull; it's a push. Because if you are thinking, for example, how much more, Dion? How much more do you squat versus how much more do you weighted pull up?
I squat more than I do a weighted pull up, for sure.
I would hope so. Otherwise, we'd have a bigger programming discussion on our hands, right? So, right, when we think pull, what do we think pull with? Our arms. If we think push, what do we think push with? Generally, our legs. And our legs are our biggest force driver in the stroke. And so there's something simply to be said for our vernacular about speaking about rowing. And it's mostly that everybody says pull harder, right? Or they refer to the stroke as a pull. And so one, that already sets somebody up for a tough time, because mentally they're thinking, oh, I got to pull the handle to me. when in fact it's the opposite. If you can give somebody a paradigm shift where they now think about pushing the machine away from them as opposed to pulling the handle to them, that has a big impact on the way that people interact with the machine. So I'd say that little things like that kind of aggregate together. The other is that there's a lot of talk about getting along. And this is where the handle coming to the neck comes in, is that everybody hears length is good for rowing. And we actually just did a video about this week. I don't know if you caught our YouTube video this week.
No, I didn't manage.
And it's blowing up on Facebook, which I'm really happy about. But it's all about length, and length is only good if it's good length, right? You don't want to get length at all costs. And so length can come in two places, and that's the catch or the release, or the front or the back of the stroke. And if you're trying to get length at the back end of the stroke, your hips are already open, your legs are already extended. There's not much that you can get out of that. But unless you really stop, take a moment, and think critically about it, you wouldn't really think about length on the backside doesn't really make sense. There's not a whole lot of force production happening back there. So there's just kind of a mistake that happens in a lot of the terminology that gets thrown around. It's talked about as a pull. We're told that length is good, and not that these things are wrong. It just paints a picture that puts somebody at a disadvantage when they don't have a coach in front of them who understands the movement inside and out. Now, I will, however, say that on the whole, the longer that I've been at this and the more that I see, we've April of 2016, so a little over a year now, well, more like a year and a half, we've been doing a video every single week on YouTube. And we committed to that back then. And I've seen the tide really shift when I am out on the road and working with athletes and coaches. There's a much greater understanding now that there's a centralized location of knowledge around the movement. We're really starting to see the tide kind of shift on that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your YouTube channel right now. Yeah, it's the #1 video analysis of length in the rowing stroke for training. Yeah, you're really consistent with these videos. Like one 3 days ago, one week ago, 2 weeks. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. It's like the one-stop shop for all the questions you keep annoyingly getting asked.
And you can, that could be one way of looking at it. Thankfully, we have all these questions because it just gives me content to talk about.
Yeah.
Every single video that we've done, we release a video every single Tuesday at 6 a.m. Pacific time, every single Tuesday. And that every video has come from a question somebody asked. And so even, it helps to really dig down, because we'll do a video on the catch and we'll still get comments about it and questions in the comments. And then we just take those questions and we make another video about it. So it's this wonderful rabbit hole of content where people just have helped us create what they want.
That's awesome. They're basically creating the content for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when this was a question that my wife actually wanted me to ask you, when the half marathon row, I think it was a half marathon row that was at the games, there was a certain competitor, I won't say his name, but he one certain competitor.
He'll remain unnamed. Those of us in the know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. He would push, and then stop. And then go back to the catch, push, stop, go back to the catch. Did that kind of made you blood red mad? Or was there did you ask him later on what was going on with that? But when you saw that, I knew how my wife felt. She was like, what the fuck is this guy up to? But for you, kind of in the thick of it all, what were you thinking at that time?
Sitting in the stands, I was enraged. It was so infuriating. But let's keep in mind, what year was this? That was 2012, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, while away,
2012 maybe.
A while ago.
Yeah. So in the stands, enraged. I was boiling. But after really talking it through, it took me a little while. It was a bit I was hurt. I was. Things didn't feel good for a while. Because for a year and a half after that, I would get questions. Well, but so-and-so did this.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. But at the end of the day, really what it comes down to is Was he good enough to beat everybody else in the field? Yeah, yeah, he was. So there's a discussion to be had. How good does he have to be? He has like the mental fortitude of an ox. He also has the size of an ox and the strength. So it served him in that workout. Now, does that mean that that's as good as he's going to get? No, hell no. If we worked together for 8 weeks, I guarantee you we would make him faster.
Yeah.
But is that something that he's decided to do? No. Because is he competing anymore? No. And so is that important to him? No. And so it's a challenging discussion, because did he look good? No. Was he rowing technically correct? No. But did he beat everybody else? Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And so, it was good enough at the time to do what he had to do. And it was, at this point, I can say without a bruised ego that it was impressive what he pulled off.
Yeah. It was one of those things at the time we were thinking, like the wife and I were kind of thinking, he can do this because he's kind of mentally strong. So he can just keep going and suffer through it. But then it was that situation that the next time we went into the gym and a big, long, rowing workout or whatever it was came up, so many people started doing it. And I wasn't bothered by it, but I could tell my wife was just getting blood red mad. So,
there was a lot of emotional undoing that had to happen after that. But such is our sport, right? At that point, there was no central location of content. So there was nothing for anybody to turn to. And I want to even say it had to have been within 6 months after that, he put out a video teaching people how to row.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it blew up, and it was like, no, please. And that became my uphill battle for the next year, was like trying to correct what was said there. But again, I don't want to take away from him, because he is a fantastic athlete and human. And the fact that his video became popular was proof that people wanted to understand it.
Yep.
But nobody had been willing to put themselves on camera and just go for it yet. And again, that's why I started doing what we did with Dark Horse, because nobody was willing to do it, and it needed to be done because there are so many questions, and it's complex. It's a skill movement. So it had to be addressed over time. It couldn't just be done in one video.
Yeah.
Because the questions never stop. No matter how many videos we put out, we're still going to have more nuanced questions, and they just keep coming and coming. And so we were the ones that decided to do it. And it doesn't seem like anybody else is really interested in doing it,
Yeah. And that's now led into what you've started, the Dark Horse Rowing. It started in 2015, I think.
Yeah.
We just said it. I've got a short-term memory. We started Dark Horse Rowing, and was that the ultimate goal for having a one-stop shop for you, so people can come to you and ask questions, or what was the ultimate goal for starting Dark Horse Rowing for you?
Starting Dark Horse Rowing was about creating a one-stop shop, creating the place for content, both coaching, programming, coaches education. That was all really big for me to explain it to people in a way that was easily consumable, and not make the machine a scary thing anymore. And by all accounts, we've been successful at that. We started with programming, and the programming was built around education. It wasn't just about programming, because there are more than enough coaches out there willing to write a program. And everyone wants to compete for who can write the best program. Yeah. Honestly, it's not that hard to write a program. What's really hard to do is to create an environment where somebody can learn without having to dedicate all of their time to you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the hard part. And that's really where we built things, was by making it easily consumable, breaking things down into small bite-sized pieces that people could consume quickly and easily, and then and constantly come back to us knowing that they were going to have their answers whenever they came to us. So that was, the reasoning behind our YouTube channel, why we've written a blog article every single week. So every week we have a video and a blog article that's coming out. And we've been doing that since April of 2016. So, we're flush with answers now. And there really is not a whole lot that has come to us at this point that we can't answer.
It's funny because I remember when Dark Horse Rowing came around, and I was just so stoked about it because at that time I still love rowing, but just loving rowing. And I think, again, going back to what I said earlier, the reason why people didn't like it or hate it is because they didn't understand the machine itself and the movement in itself. And when I saw Dark Horse, I was like, yes, awesome. Finally, people can like get on board and really enjoy not enjoy because, let's face it sucks, but start enjoying to a different level, doing these workouts. And I think the whole idea of Dark Horse Rowing is just so awesome. And I think that what you're doing is so cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. But what brings me to you're starting an online Dark Horse Academy. Is that correct? Tell me more about that, bro.
So when we found out that we were pregnant, my wife and I, I decided that it was time to curb my travel a little bit. And I, for a long time, we coached off of the same curriculum for CrossFit rowing, and I just felt the need to branch out and to create some kind of new patterns. And so I basically said, listen, when my baby is about due, I think is when I'm ready to retire and from CrossFit rowing, and then built the Dark Horse Academy, which is aimed at allowing a coach anywhere in the world to take our course without having to leave home, without having to spend money on travel, and at a lower price, as well as learn at their own pace, be able to learn how to use the machine for themselves, their gym, or their athletes, and build it from a standpoint of, I understand you. Like I don't have any misgivings that you guys want to love rowing, but I do know you as a coach because I've now been coaching since 2010. Like I get it. I get your place. I get what you are wanting to accomplish at your gym. And I also know that the rower is an underutilized tool that you paid a lot of money for. So why not learn how to use it appropriately? And in conjunction with, we partnered with Concept 2 on this. So this isn't just Dark Horse. This is Dark Horse Rowing building a Concept 2 course. At the end of our course, you can come out of it. We have a base course and the pro version. The pro version, you can come out of this course as a Concept 2 instructor.
What? That's awesome. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. So Concept 2 will qualify you as, and we are the ones that give you the sign off. But if you get our seal of approval after you've gone through the pro version, you are a Concept 2 trainer.
Whoa.
And you'll be listed on the Concept 2 website. And so we did this with Concept 2's blessing. And again, it's because I owe my career to having this amazing relationship with Concept 2 and how gracious they've been with me. The company is phenomenal. And so they are who I will always work with. They are outstanding individuals. Their mission is incredible. And they have built a product that will stand the test of time and won't break down. And I appreciate that because as a gym owner or a coach out there, you guys all have the decision to bring some equipment or not into your gym. And a rower is one of those things that almost always makes it into the mix because it will last forever. It just does. Like, I don't care if you leave it outside and it gets rained on. Like, yeah, some stuff may go wrong, but you can work on it yourself. Replacement parts aren't cheap. Are cheap. Yeah, they're not meant to, like, they're not trying to make money off of you. Like they just wanted to build a really solid machine, and they just stand behind what they do, and they've stood behind me, and so I'm just really honored to be able to create the Dark Horse Academy with Concept 2.
That's awesome. I love the fact that you can come out there certified, like out of the pro version certified. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and we're the wonderful part too is we're working with all of the individual Concept 2 distributors now. So we are working hand in hand with Concept 2 Australia, We'll be working with Concept 2 China in the near future. So like we're doing this for them. Like we're building it hopefully with the goal of making Concept 2 proud, as well as building something awesomely consumable by any coach or gym out there, and not even just CrossFit gym. Like we understand that there's every 24-hour fitness in the world has 2 or 3 rowers sitting in the corner. Why not put their coaches through this? Because it's going to cost them, a fifth of what it would cost to send them to physically send them to a course.
That's craziness. Absolute nonsense. Absolute craziness. But I'm
going to quote you on that.
Absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
Let's jump into these questions, because I've sifted through a whole bunch of them. A lot of them talk about the damper setting. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about that first, because most of the questions were about damper settings. Some of them will probably make your eyes roll a little bit.
There aren't any that make my eyes roll anymore.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I'll ask you I shouldn't say it's a stupid question, but it is. Okay, it is a stupid question. I'm sorry, Space Rook, but it's a silly one, and you're going to hear it. Okay. So this one's for you. How can I improve my 5K time? Should I just keep doing 5Ks, or do I do more interval training, like 5 by 500 or 10 by 200, 250 training? What should I do?
Okay. No, don't just keep doing 5Ks. That is not that great. That's not that effective of a strategy. What I would encourage you to do is to make sure that you have sound mechanics and fundamentals. And if you don't, if you go onto our YouTube channel and watch one of our videos of myself or any of the athletes we have in our videos rowing, and you don't look like that, then take a step back, focus on the foundations of movement. Once you know that you can emulate those good movements, right? Once you establish good mechanics and then you can consistently do it, then we can talk about adding intensity. Sound familiar? Then we can start talking about, programming and what it looks like to improve a 5K time. There are so many ways of going about it, but in all honesty, you need to make sure that you do spend time, especially in that suffer zone, the ability to get close to that time domain in which you're going to pull off a 5K. Understanding how to work thresholds of your capacity of your 5K time. So once you have your 5K baseline, you're going to work on plus or minus that baseline inside of your workout so that you're, educated programming, if you will. Don't just, hit it hard every day of the week. And then the other piece I would say is you don't have to do it as much as you think. We have a 5K cycle and we only row twice a week. You can improve your 5K time just rowing twice a week. And that's 15 minutes of drill work, 45 minutes of workout. You will improve your 5K doing that. And we've found a way to, help people through it because mechanics have such a big impact.
Interesting. That's crazy. Just two days a week and it'll improve your 5K dramatically, depending on the intensity, all those other variables. That's awesome.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. The next question from the same guy. Which is more important in the catch, vertical shins or heels flat down? Because I don't have ankle mobility to do both at the same time right now. Now, I know you've got a video, that was a question, but I know you've got a video on ankle mobility on your YouTube channel. Does that kind of touch on that, or is it a bit more in depth than that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say what I always say, and I'll wait for the hate mail from the rowing community to come in afterwards.
Ooh.
But row with your heels down. Keep your heels down and prioritize heels down over vertical shins. Now, I'm going to put an asterisk next to that, and I'm going to guarantee that any rower that's listening is not going to hear this asterisk. They're just going to want to come at me with an angry email.
Oh, yeah, because I asked the same question to my wife, and she did not have the same answer as yours.
Yeah. And so let me justify it, right? And let's have a good, honest discussion about it, because every rower in the world is going to say it's okay for your heels to lift. That's so stupid. Every rowing coach in the world allows the heels to lift for length. Yes, agreed. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. Yeah. However, I am not trying to coach rowers, because I don't care about, I don't need rowers to come to me to learn how to row. They already know how to row. Gotcha. That's not my objective. I'm trying to coach non-rowers, people who don't understand rowing, and get them to quickly consume it. Number two, the two most egregious errors that we see in non-rowers trying to row are the inability to push through their legs and the hips being in the wrong position at the catch, which leads to a whole host of up and downstream issues. So I coach for anybody who comes to me to keep the heels down until they are mechanically sound and can get into a perfect catch every single time, albeit maybe not their deepest catch, that they get into a perfect catch with the heels down. And then as time progresses, once I know that an athlete can consistently repeat good movement and that they understand how to push through their entire leg, then I will allow the heel to begin lifting again. But what's the biggest issue that we see in CrossFitters learning how to row? It's that they pull their heel all the way up, their hips slide underneath them, the seat taps the heels, and then they lead with the shoulders through the stroke. That sums up 90% of the issues that we see in non-rowers trying to row.
Interesting.
And by keeping the heels down, I can effectively eliminate 80% of those people and correct their mechanics instantly. You know, at the beginning, I said it used to take me 4 1-hour sessions to get somebody the basics, and why now I can do it in 15. Give me another coach out there that can teach somebody good, sound, fundamental mechanics in 15 minutes. Nobody is getting there because nobody is willing to say, keep the heels down. We all want to stick to these old adages of it's okay for the heels to lift. It's not for a new athlete, because when you, it's literal. If you give them an inch, they will take a mile. If you say it's okay to lift the heels to a new non-rower trying to learn the rowing movement, they will skyrocket those heels. Those things will be as high as they can get them off of the foot stretcher. And then when they go to drive, all they have to drive through is the ball of their foot. They never even touch their heel to the foot stretcher. What does that mean? You're not engaging your posterior chain. You're not engaging your hamstrings, your glutes. Now you have no power to push through the machine. So by keeping the heel down, for example, let me ask you this. As somebody who understands good movement, would you allow somebody with poor mechanics to squat to their toes because they couldn't squat with their heels down?
No, you answering me that question makes me cringe. It just sounds terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an accepted principle of the way that we consider movement. And yet we seem to just throw that out the window when it comes to the rowing movement. But it's the same concept. Why do we make people keep the heels down? It's not because you squat through the heels. It's because you need to squat through your entire foot, and having your heel connected is necessary for you to be able to engage your posterior chain and be able to create good connection force through the ground. So by keeping the heel down, we have now enabled an athlete to learn how to push through their whole foot. If you watch me row in the middle of a workout, my heels lift. And I don't believe that heels lifting is a problem, but do I think that it's an issue when I'm teaching somebody who doesn't already know the movement? Hell yeah. And if you, I will go up against any coach, any rowing coach in the world who wants to debate that, because I know how quickly we can create better movement with athletes by keeping the heels down.
Interesting. So you're basically saying that you keep your heels down so you build basic and strong fundamentals. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then as it improves, your range of motion will improve. You will always be able to come back to how to connect to the machine. But unless you learn how to connect to begin with, you'll never find it. You know, it's like expecting that somebody will magically, an athlete joins your gym. They can't squat with their heels on the floor. They always lift their heels. And instead of teaching them how to squat properly, you allow them to continue getting stronger with the heels lifting. And you just hope that one day when the weight gets heavy enough, they'll magically put their heels down to drive through their leg. You're doing a huge disservice to the athlete by doing that. And no coach in their right mind would do that.
Dang. You just dropped some knowledge, man. Some knowledge bombs right there, man.
Bring on the hate mail.
Bring it on, you bitches. All right, okay, this next question, this is I don't know if this is an odd one or a common one that you get, but anyway, he's saying, I was doing some sprint repeats on the rower, and I felt like I was hyperextending my knee. What the fuck is wrong with my technique?
Okay. No, I get what he's talking about. So often you'll see somebody's leg like almost flop into extension. And this comes right back to somebody's hasn't learned how to press through their entire leg. And so they more often than not, they're seeing the stroke as a pull. So they are simply extending their leg as a byproduct of trying to get as long as possible. The way of fixing that, like, quote, hyperextension feeling, is thinking about pushing through the leg and moving with intent, which is what most people struggle with, right? They don't quite have that like proprioceptive awareness on the machine. So they're trying to mimic the movement without necessarily understanding the intent behind it. Our goal when we reach that extension of the leg is that the butt's squeezed, the quads are squeezed, the whole leg is pressing, which completes a controlled extension of the knee. And so when you feel that kind of flop of the knee, or if you see an athlete with their knee where it just kind of looks like it just slams into extension and then pops right back out, it's simply because they're kind of throwing themselves into the stroke, not pressing the machine away. And that press will go a long ways. And you kind of have to remind, like, think about squeezing the quads, squeeze the glutes, help press your legs into extension. Don't throw them into extension.
Dang.
Good question though, because we see that it's not extremely common, but it is a common issue.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. When I saw this question pop up, I'm like, man, you've either got some rubber band legs or something's going on in your life. I had no idea. And I guess the last question, so we can tie this all up. This is like a real basic question. What rowing workout leaves you gasping for breath every single time? Wondering what the heck we already answered it. He was basically saying, how'd you even get into rowing? But his base question is, what is a workout that leaves you gasping for breath every single time?
What almost every rower will say is the 2K. I mean, it is like, it's the worst of all worlds. I still break out into a sweat when I think about doing a 2K. I mean, like right now I'm just talking about it and I instantly just got hot. Because, it's that like the 2K is the epitome of mental suffering and physical. I mean, I should qualify this by saying the more you understand rowing, the more the 2K starts to suck, because you learn how to push that red line and hold that red line without throttling too far and blowing the engine up. And so you have to live in this just zone of torture for, anywhere from 6 to 9 minutes. And oh man, yeah, every time I get done with the 2K, I am questioning my life choices.
You're taking flashbacks of when you're a kid, where you are right now. So a 2K is considered a sprint in the rowing world. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Dang. I mean, I've seen people like on YouTube, like at Indoor Champs or just in general, them doing 2Ks, and they're going so quick, but they're making it look so smooth. But you can't see any wasted energy on their face. They're all like stone cold face. But you can almost tell as soon as it's done, they just want to just throw their arms and legs away. Like they just want to cut off limbs and just throw it away. They don't need it anymore. They're done for the day. But that's exactly right.
But that's the sign. That's the mark of somebody who understands what they're doing, because there's no room for wasted energy of showing pain on your face or putting any energy into letting a scream out or putting any energy into anything other than putting every last possible calorie into pushing that machine away from you with your legs. And that's why when you get done with the 2K, it's white hot. You generally can't remember the last, 500 meters of the race. That's your goal. I mean, many, many, many tests that I did in college, I don't remember the last quarter of the race.
Where am I?
That's exactly. I mean, you just get done and you don't know what happened. That's the mark of somebody who understands what they're doing.
Dang, man. I think I honestly truly feel, well, in New Zealand, rowing is a very big sport. Like it's always
you guys produce some incredible rowers there.
Yeah, and see, I didn't even know that until I moved to America, and it's not really a big sport. I don't see it on the news. It's like, whoa, rowing is massive in New Zealand, but I think I still honestly feel that rowing is a very underrated sport, because I don't think, well, here in America anyway, no one really understands it. No one really gets it, because people are still fascinated with, football, baseball,
the primary sports.
Yeah, like ice hockey, all that kind of stuff. And I genuinely think that it's a very underrated sport here in America. But agreed. I don't know. That could be me just talking shit, but I don't know.
That's possible too.
Yeah, that is possible. It's highly, highly possible. But hey, Shane, thank you very much for being on the show. I know you got your website. Let the people know where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you via Dark Horse. Let all these people know.
So darkhorserowing.com is our main website. You can find me on Instagram at Shane Farmer or at Dark Horse Rowing, 2 separate Instagrams. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/Dark Horse Rowing. And if you're a coach and you're interested in the academy, we only open up the academy twice a year. It's you have to get in during those open enrollment periods. Go to darkhorserowing.com/academy and you'll be able to get on the wait list. So when we open it up again, I believe in October, you'll have a shot to get in.
Whew. All of the good stuff. It's right there. It's right there, motherfuckers. Yeah. So stop asking him questions. Go to the website. Stop asking me questions about how handsome is he. I don't know. This is an over phone bloody podcast. I can't see him. But Shane, thank you very much for being on the show. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on this podcast with me, man. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for the time.
And that's the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for wherever you are, in your car, at home, on the way to the gym, whatever you're doing. Thank you for letting me become a part of that journey with you, wherever you are in the world. Okay? If you love this show so much, please, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go on your podcast provider, whichever one it is, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, I don't give a fuck, whatever you're on, and please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. It helps me out. It helps me go a long way within the podcasting community, and it keeps me doing it. Because sometimes, when you don't get traction, you kind of give up along the way. But not this guy, because I've been doing it for 3 years, and it's been fucking fun. So, as much as all of you guys know, I started this podcast out of nothing. So I didn't even think I'd get paid through the podcast. Magically, I do. I still don't know how I get paid through the podcast. It's fucking nuts. It's nuts, man. But yeah, rate, review, subscribe. It'll mean a lot to me. It'll mean a lot to us, and I love you forever and ever. And if you want to support the show in your own unique way, go to patreon.com/honoringconquer and see how you can be rewarded in the process of your month-to-month pledge. Okay? Find out all that good stuff. And this podcast was proudly brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Attain Health and Wellbeing, Redbeard Barbell, and my brother from another fella, Mr. Jono Hagar. Awesome dude. And thanks to our sponsors as well. Ringer. If you want to do over-the-phone podcasts, look no further, you fucking assholes. Go to ringer.com/conquer for a 25% discount off your sign-up. Okay? On your monthly sign-up. It's awesome. I prefer it. I prefer using Ringer. I've used it as long as I've had this podcast for over-the-phone shit. I can't even remember how I found it, but it works extremely well. I'm always been happy with it. And we're also brought to you by our friends at Onnit. Get optimized today, motherfuckers. Get a free 30-count bottle of New Mood, which is something that I use to help me go to sleep, or a free 28-count bottle of Shroomtech Sport. And it's my favorite pre-workout supplement, something I enjoy using all of the time. And they're giving it away for free, and all you have to pay for is shipping, and it's only available in the United States, you motherfuckers. So honoringconquer.com/onnit. Click on the free link, whichever one you want. Get it for free, and all you have to pay for is shipping. Only available in the United States. Okay? Get optimized today. And again, if you do your shopping on Amazon, like almost everyone does these days, go to our homepage at honoringconquer.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, click the Amazon banner, and do your shopping like you normally would. We receive a little kickback on the purchases made. Okay, that's the podcast done. I'm fucking done. I'm out of here. Next week on the show, I'm going to have... who am I having next week on the show? Liv Langdon, from the food and nutrition manager at Onnit. And the week after that is Luke and Tex from Power Athlete. All right? CrossFit football. We're going to talk about football and how awesome of a game it is and all that kind of shit. Actually, I've never played football in my life, so that was kind of a joke. We're going to talk about other things that's not football. Like about what's your favorite pizza. All the thought-provoking things that most people need to know about these people. What pizzas do they like? Are they a meat lovers person? I'm more of a Hawaiian pizza person. But anyway, that's besides the point. What the fuck? We're at the end of this podcast. All right. Goodbye and good night.